neither you or Dan can breathe or taste the cigar.
I sit down, I light one up, and pour myself a drink. And I have found that it picks me up, it gives me time to think. It's been a long day, you know it's true. But I'm feeling right at home. And now I must say that time is due. Let's get on with the show. Not just blowing smoke.
Dan, we're live. All right, everybody. Hey there, and welcome to Not Just Blowing Smoke, coming at you live from Twin Smoke Shop studio headquarters in Londonderry, New Hampshire. Be sure to subscribe to us right here on Facebook or YouTube if you're watching the stream live. If you're listening after the fact on Podbean, iHeartRadio, Pandora, Spotify, iTunes, Google, or wherever else you got this podcast from, make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you don't ever miss a thing. I am Pastor Padron, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Pat and Dave. And as you can see, we have two guests with us tonight. We've got Mike LaRiviere. LaRiviere from Rocky Patel with us, and we have Kaz Walters from some company that no one's ever heard of.
But they will tonight.
LDG, something like that.
Yeah.
Laudisi Distribution Group, right?
I'm nobody.
But
it's a pleasure to be here.
Join the
it's
club,
a pleasure
man.
to be here.
I feel privileged. I'm just lucky to be here.
This is probably the lowest anticipated podcast I've ever done with us on it.
And yet it's going to be
It's
such
gonna
an
be
awesome
so
show. We were doing, last week we did a kind of a fourth quarter review and talked about things that had come out in the fourth quarter of the year. And what we're smoking tonight are two other items that have come out in the fourth quarter. We're going to start with the Rocky Patel DBS. We're smoking the 60 tonight.
Yeah,
Why?
I love it.
Because Pat said smoke the 60. You won't be disappointed. So this is my first time smoking the 60, so I'm looking forward to it. Later on in the show, we're going to be doing GLP's Bankside pipe tobacco. Kaz, Laudisi Distribution Group does. We just had a big show with Savinelli Pipes, Peterson, GLP's, Cornell and Deal, Gawath Hogarth, Samuel Gawath.
Now Samuel Gawath.
So all sorts of pipe stuff. Kaz is my guy for that.
juice.
He's their national account manager. Is that what they call you now?
I mean,
Or
that's my
the
title,
redheaded
but they call me a
stepchild.
lot of things. But
Yeah.
that's my title.
Okay. So we're going to start with this. Mike, do you want to tell us a little bit about what's in the cigar, or do you need me to do it for you?
Oh, yeah. I think I was hungover and passed out during that sales meeting, but I think I can cover it. No.
Let's see. Do you remember what DBS stands for?
Of course I do. Double broadleaf selection.
Very good.
This is one of our two brand new releases that actually just landed about 10 days ago.
Yep.
And hit the East Coast December 1st. This is the DBS double broadleaf selection. It has two broadleaf binders, Pennsylvanian and Nicaraguan.
Yep.
Has some Nicaraguan Honduran tobacco as filler, and a beautiful, as you can see, San Andreas wrapper from Mexico. And we're really excited about this cigar.
Awesome. And Pat, can you speak a little bit about the pairing that we're doing with this?
I actually know nothing about it.
Well,
I don't-
way to be prepared, Pat. It's the latest single barrel select from Old Forester. Just came into the shop.
Kurt over here, having him talk.
It's your special barrel pick, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's got to be amazing.
It's
I can't wait to try it.
Several times a year, it seems, we're able to get a barrel pick from there. And in this particular case, with Old Forester, you try a bunch of different samples of barrels that they're willing to sell, and you get to pick and then that barrel gets sent to you, it gets bottled, and all those bottles comes exclusively to you. So
Well, I'm not going to wait. I'm going to try it.
yeah,
We'll
go right
taste
ahead
this
and try it.
now.
Tell me what you think. It's an audio podcast too, so feel free to talk.
Yep.
Oh. Wow.
Is it
Nice
good?
and smooth, yeah. I mean, I actually do like hot bourbons, but know how to enjoy some smooth bourbons like this. And wow,
Yeah,
nice and smooth, nice little caramel hint to it.
very nice.
Nice flavor. Actually going to pair really well with this.
I thought it would.
Yeah.
We're gonna
Oh,
have it
yeah.
as well with the pipe tobacco. It's gonna go very well with both. Pat, you want to tell us a little bit about what you're picking up off the cigar?
Yeah, so I mean, I've smoked all three iterations of the DBS now, and it's kind of funny because everyone knows me not to really be a 60 gauge cigar guy.
And you said we have to smoke 60, so I
Yeah.
can't wait to hear this.
Yeah, so my experience with the DBS, and I mean, like I mentioned it kind of last week. I didn't really give a review of what I thought about it because it was just fresh off, shipment, and it's not ready to smoke yet. Just like a lot of the cigars are, we get them in, you need to sit for
Right.
a little bit. So I've been smoking the Robusto and Toro, and it's really good. But one of the things about the DBS that out of those sizes I was kind of hoping for was kind of that fuller body, kind of like spice and that kind of pizzazz to it, which for my personal like subjective palate, that's what I like. But I think a lot of consumers are going to really enjoy it because it's a really rich kind of dark cigar, and it's not that powerhouse, right? Like it's kind of like almost like a white label person that can appreciate kind of like those nice kind of like, you know, smooth and like refined characteristics, can smoke the DBS and get that in more of a rich, you know, Maduro cigar. But then I smoked the 60 gauge this morning before the show because we were going to do the Toro tonight, and it had that fuller bodied, you know, that like Nicaraguan spice, and it just brought like a lot more life to the blend. And you know, for me, when I smoke the cigar, the main difference with the 60 than the Toro is I'm getting that cedar. You know, like Rocky's very known for aging his cigars and the quality control. Like you're getting that aging room cedar note out of it. You're getting that nice, really like refined kind of like red Cajun spice out of it. That nice cocoa-y kind of syrupy sweetness. And it just has like a really nice overall creamy texture. So I mean, for me, like the 60 gauge, it just brought the blend out completely.
I love that it's like, you know, you're smoking something that really it has a whole lot of flavor and rich flavor, but like you say, it's like not punching you in the face.
Right.
It's just because of the aging and, you know, the things that Rocky does.
So tell us a little bit about the things that Rocky does for this cigar. I mean,
those are trade secrets, Dan.
Well, you can talk about the age of some of the tobaccos.
Well, yeah,
here.
well,
I mean, this is you know, kind of like the white label. This is not a, you know, cheap cigar. These are all $20 offerings depending on the size. So what makes
it's got
what
some
goes
of the,
into this that
some
puts
of
it
the
at
best
that price
tobaccos
point?
that we have our hands on. You know, the fermentation process, the aging.
Aging.
Aging. You know, you're gonna mess with my Boston accent. New Hampshire's not that much different than Boston, but yeah, I mean,
You got the age in it.
the aging.
I miss my soundboard.
You know, I think, again, aside from the ingredients, if you will, that go into that, the quality control, like you mentioned, Pat, in our factories, and Rocky's he's on top of it. We've talked recently, you know, sidebar about some of the things that Rocky's done, and I mentioned to you the other day, I was down at the office, you know, on unrelated business to anything to do with, you know, checking out cigars, construction, and all that. Yeah, and I was in the office, and Rocky was having a meeting with a couple of guys down there, and they had a Zoom going on, and he just got up and walked to the warehouse and grabbed a box of cigars, came back into we call it the war room, and he started like taking the cigar and ripping it apart. I'm like, you know, again, you guys know, I'm fairly new to this industry. You know, I was a cop for all those years. Like, this is all new stuff for me, and I'm taking it all in, and he's like ripping the cigar apart, and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, I want to smoke that, you know. And you know, unbeknownst to me, what he's doing is he's just, you know, while he's doing his work and his mind's focused on this and that, he's also ripping that apart, making sure the fillers are right, making sure it's bunched the right way, making sure the construction's quality. And I think that, to me, that just speaks to all the things that I've heard, all the conversations I've heard. We've been together with him, calling the factory and talking about the cigars. And I mean, quality control is huge. And, you know, when you have 100% of your cigars that get draw tested, you know, everything can be great. You can have all the best ingredients, and it's a great blend. But if you're smoking and it's tunneling, or it's just not smoking right, and it's falling apart, and it doesn't look nice, it's just got big veins and the color's off, it's not part of the experience that we love. When you know, we're passionate about this, you know, industry and the cigars and what it brings for each individual that smokes them, and in the setting that they're in. You know, I think that's something that doesn't happen by accident. We have 100% of our cigars, like I say, get draw tested. Every pair has a draw test machine. Quick process goes up. If too tight, too loose, boom, it goes. You know, it doesn't go into the box.
Okay.
So I think, again,
but that's every cigar.
Yeah.
What puts this at the top of Rocky's brands?
Well, I think
because it is.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's meant to be there. This is meant to be like, along with the white label. This is kind of like the
it's
darker,
definitely
fuller bodied version of a white label quality.
I can snipe
cigar.
this question too if you want.
Well, go ahead. I mean, I have my ideas what it is, but let's.
Because
you've talked to Rocky a lot about this.
Yeah, I'm just going off of my conversations with Rocky. So one of the really, I think when we had Steve Saka on, I want to say it was probably like 2.5 months ago, we talked about this briefly, I believe. But you know, like again, like double broadleaf San Andreas, it has, you know, Connecticut broadleaf in here, and that is such a difficult wrapper to get right now. It's a really high quality wrapper because of the blunt industry. Like they're buying Connecticut broadleaf and it's really thick, it's oily, and they're using it for blunt wraps. So that's like a lot of these farmers are selling to these people because they're bulk buying. It's these big companies and they have the volume to be able to purchase like these lots of different farmers' tobacco. So, and they're not really giving it to the artisan, you know, like cigar makers. So in itself, getting a good quality broadleaf wrapper is very difficult to do. And, you know, Mike can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I don't know if Rocky has a Connecticut broadleaf cigar. I think this is the first.
Well, this has Pennsylvania
It's
broadleaf.
Pennsylvania,
Not
Pennsylvania
Oh, yeah,
broadleaf and
Pennsylvania.
Nicaraguan broadleaf.
Yeah, so
and
that's
I
what
know
I'm
the
thinking.
conversation we were talking about a whole lot when we were all together the other day, and Connecticut came up in a different part of the conversation, which kind of
Yeah, so
gelled into
it
ours. But
confused me.
to be clear on
Pennsylvania,
this
though.
cigar, this has a Pennsylvania broadleaf and a Nicaraguan broadleaf binder, which broadleaf, I think the conversation was really around how hard broadleaf is to get,
Yeah.
as you were saying.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, I know our Sangro Maduro, which I love. It's one of my top cigars I love to
It's
smoke
one
that
of
we
my
make.
favorite cigars too.
We stopped producing that for a very good amount of time. It was like months before we actually, you know, we were sold out before we could get the broadleaf to, you know,
Yeah,
be
let's
ready,
do it.
because the marijuana industry's just buying it all up and they're using it to make their blunts and all the foil packs. You buy the wrappers and all that kind of stuff. So I know Rocky's really happy and you know, proud to have the opportunity to put broadleaf in two different versions into the cigar and with the blend and give us something that you really can appreciate to be different. To me, this cigar smokes very different than the majority of the cigars that I smoke that we make. It's just got a whole
How
different.
so?
The flavor profile is just the complexity in it. Like you mentioned that, like you mentioned like a Cajun spice, right? Which I was trying to figure out where I was getting like the peppery spice. Right? It's got it is. That's a really good like example of the flavor profile I'm getting, which is way different. I mean, we have spicy, we have white pepper, we have earthy, creamy,
pepper.
buttery with our, you know, vintage 99, but this has this like just different taste to it that just sets it out from something else.
If I may, so I'm originally from the deep south, if anybody can't tell from the accent, but New Orleans is known for Nolans.
Nolans.
Nobody
Nolans.
pronounces it that way.
Nolans.
It's
Which New Orleans is close to my heart. I've been
There
down
you
there.
go.
My dad was stationed down there. I
Yeah.
spent a ton of time down there. Still go down. Oh,
New Orleans.
food.
No, let's.
No.
But they are known for anybody who's been down there and has gone to like Cafe Du Monde or anything like that. Like their coffee has a unique flavor, and it's because it's a dark French roast, but they cut the beans with chicory root, which is it's bitter but it's spicy.
Yeah.
And I was getting some of that. And when you mentioned Cajun spice, I wasn't thinking so much what you would have in like jambalaya.
Yeah,
or
I don't think I've heard that before.
or
That's why
etouffee, but like
sat with me.
I see that like that chicory, like spicy, dark earthiness that comes from it, and I get a lot of those notes, and I get little hints without it being like part of the profile, but things that are reminiscent that I associate with like a dark like coffee, and then like a woodiness, and with your Cajun spice comment, that all come together, and it's like, oh yeah, that's chicory.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of an obscure reference. Like it's
I get it.
a narrow
I
part of
get
the
it.
country, but yeah, I mean, this and construction. You were talking about draw testing. Like
Oh,
this has
yeah,
one of
yeah.
the smoothest draws. Like it's
Every
Yeah,
every
the
cigar
burn
we
on
make
this
should
is
be like
incredible.
that.
I'm looking at everybody's cigar; they're all burning fantastic.
I just really appreciate, again, and I'm probably repeating myself, but to have that full body, like those full rich flavors, but not be overpowering. I again, and I'm not an expert. Like Rocky's at the farms and he's doing the blends and all that stuff, but I don't think that happens by accident either. You know,
No,
because
no,
that
absolutely
Lajero,
not.
you know, if you put too much and if it's not fermented the right way and all the things that go in between that, it gets harsh, it's strong, maybe you feel a little bit green, and I don't get that with
It's
this.
very assertive and not aggressive.
Right. That's a good way to put it.
Oh,
too.
very good.
So let me
Pat.
ask you guys. So we're live, right?
Yes, we
So
are.
Are you able to have do you have folks out there that are joining in that can text and
Yep.
make comments and everything? So I'm just curious because we're talking about New Orleans, which
Nolans.
again you're making me want to go down there right now and go get some good food and listen to some great music. If anybody's on the podcast right now from Louisiana, or if you listen to this later on from Louisiana, I'm going to describe what I just said in Louisianan terms. One word. This cigar is going to give you a little lagniappe.
There you go.
That's all you need to know.
No, what does that mean for those?
A
of
little
us?
something
A
extra.
little something
A little
extra, a
something
little line.
extra.
Yeah, you got a little something extra in there that you just knows there. You haven't noticed it before in smoking cigars, and it's in this one right here.
Yeah.
Then one thing I'll add too to like, you know, like it being one of Rocky's top lines, and then people look at the price point of it. So, like one of the things when it comes to broadleaf tobacco that again, like a lot of people don't know is like how like labor inducive it actually is to produce. So I mean like, even San Andreas is primed the same way. So it's all stock cut tobacco. So you have the workers going, and they take a little hatchet and they chop the tobacco plant down with the stalk. They don't do the typical priming, you know, like 5 phases. They prime the lower leaves off, wait a couple of days, prime the next layer. They stalk cut it. Then they take that whole stalk tobacco, they put it on laths, and then that's when they start loading it up into the air carrying barns. So like that extra layer of having those stalks on there, and then after it's done fermenting, now you start doing the priming. So it adds that extra step of taking the hatchet and actually stalk cutting it, and then having that stalk on the tobacco when it's fermenting gives it like those extra nutrients and that kind of thick. They call it, what is it, grassa? It's like that really
Grassa.
like, yeah, it's like that wetness to it, like that stickiness to it when it's done. Like that's when you know it's done air carrying. So the fact that this cigar has 3 different broadleafs in it, it's for one, it's an expensive tobacco, whether it's from San Andreas or Pennsylvania or Nicaragua. But it's very, very labor intensive, and it's also a really, in my opinion, a tough tobacco to blend because it's very dense. So I mean, when it comes to having like burning qualities like this, you really have to be specific where you're putting the lajeros in there.
Yeah.
You know, like what binder, what priming of the binder you're using, and just so it can bust properly. So it's really impressive that he has all those really kind of potent tobaccos in here, and it burns phenomenally.
All right. So what I'm getting from everybody is that you're thinking this is good. Everybody's really happy with this cigar,
yeah.
right?
Yes.
Yeah. Now the next question would be, what do you think about the pairing with the Old Forester?
I think it's great.
I'm getting these like woody, semi-sweet notes from the cigar, and you mentioned picking caramel notes up from the Old Forester, and I get that too. But when I take a puff and then take a sip and then take another puff, like those caramel notes to me turn almost molassesy.
I love it.
Like they get a little bit darker and a little bit richer, and
It's
that's
almost sticky in a way. The taste.
yeah,
is
but
like,
in a good way.
in a good way, yeah.
And it lingers on the palate, and I also think that it's amazing that this is so full and rich in flavor, and it's got a good creamy smoke and a good body, but it's not overbearing. It's not too much. Like this is one of those cigars, like flavor wise, I would expect to like one and done. Now I need to go eat dinner or something.
Right.
Like but it's not impacting me that way. Like it's a perfect balance between something you can enjoy without.
Yeah, it's a great example of a cigar being full bodied but not full strength.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Definitely
You
a
know,
full body cigar.
There's lots of the flavor's very rich.
Yeah.
But it's not a cigar that's so strong with vitamin N that it's knocking you over.
Yeah.
And
I see my future. I see enjoying a really nice Super Tuscan with this, and just bringing out some different pairing qualities, and even like a really nice dark roast, like a nice rich coffee.
this would go great with coffee.
Yeah, I was thinking it.
Anything broadleaf,
Nice,
anything
real
San
nice.
Andreas goes with coffee. When you put San Andreas and broadleaf together, you got the coffee
Yeah.
thing going. And to me, the Old Forester here is bringing out a lot of those coffee notes, some of those cocoa notes from, especially from the San Andreas wrapper. Definitely making the cigar the sweetness forward a little bit, and so I'm really enjoying the pairing.
And Kurt went down and actually did this testing and the blending of the bourbon, like which barrel to pick and all that stuff. Like
Yeah.
I'll tell you, I mean, we know he has a good palate for tobacco, but man, like his tequilas he's picked, the several bourbons that I've had that have been your barrel picks, like
Yep.
got some good stuff going
Yeah,
on, man.
Kurt has an incredible
Yeah.
palate. And it's a very picky palate too, which is good.
It's good for us.
Which is good for us when you're when you're like Pat and you're a tobacconist, it kind of gets annoying. But when you're like Kurt and you own a business, it's really good.
Yeah.
Well, when I get back, I'm gonna have to ship you guys a can of Cafe Du Monde's chicory coffee to smoke with us, because that would be
please don't.
You mentioned coffee, and it's
Yeah.
like this is really good.
God, I've spent many early morning if you will, late nights at Cafe Du Monde having a beignet and a.
Yeah, I mean they're 24 hours, so it's any time. But you know what? You've had their coffee. You know what I'm
Oh,
talking
yeah,
about, right? Yeah, like
I
it's
know exactly what you're talking about.
yeah.
Pat, what do you think about the pairing? All joking aside, you do have a great palate. What do you?
I think it's really good. I mean, like the Oak Forester has enough heat to kind of give you that sensation that
enough,
it's there, but it doesn't go down kind of like the throat to the chest. It's really just like kind of a heat on your palate.
Yeah.
And then there is kind of a very subtle kind of rugged earth to it, but it gets quickly kind of swept away from like that caramel sweetness we're talking about. And then with the cigar, what I've noticed is it's on the retrohale, it's bringing out more of what I would presume is like that Nicaraguan broadleaf, like that kind of like more spice. It kind of goes from that cake to more of a black pepper. And then sitting on the palate for the finish, I have like a really kind of creamy kind of earth because of the earth notes from the bourbon. So maybe I would say maybe it's the Honduran tobacco fillers coming out for the palate, but it's definitely a complementary pairing. It's enhancing like the individual tobaccos and the cigars. So I would say this is probably the ideal pairing to have if you want a bourbon, if you're trying the DBS.
Nice.
And remind me, Dan, what's the? It's Old Forester. It's a single barrel, but what are the details about this particular whiskey?
I don't have it. It literally just dropped, so I
Okay.
don't have the details either.
It's really
I know
good.
that it's a
good.
single
That's all I
barrel,
need to know.
and I
Turn
know
on the
that
headset.
Buy it.
it's just
Good.
typically the single barrels have a little bit more oomph to them, and I think this has a little bit more of that caramel flavor than regular store bought
Yeah.
Old Forester does. So I think in that kind of sweetness aspect, it's got richer flavors in that tendency.
Yeah, I'd be interested to find out from Kurt what barrels it was aged in, if there's anything different about the barrels they aged this in. Because there's some notes in there that are just nice.
And I just thought about it. Not at all to sound pretentious. I am, but it's instead of caramel, like it's almost specifically like a creme brulee. Like you get that like burnt
Yeah.
sugar on top.
Yes,
And there's that.
yes, yes. Scratch the caramel and put the creme brulee, which is one of my favorite desserts ever, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think
Yeah, just like I get it.
Yeah.
That's freaking. Yeah. It's right on the money there.
So we kind of mentioned it earlier in the show. This got released with another cigar at the same time, the Edge 20th anniversary. You want to talk hype that up a little bit?
Yeah, I'll tell you. I mean, he did it again. I mean, last last year with the stuff that we had the Disciple, we had the 60, the White Label. I mean, I just love them all. I sometimes I feel like an idiot. I'm like, yeah, they're all great. You guys give me guff. They're smoking really good.
Well, that's what you say about everything.
I
It's
love
smoking
them, and
really
they're
good
just
right now.
they're just so good in different ways. And here we are again, and we have this DBS which we're smoking. We've talked about it already, but that Edge 20th anniversary,
Something else.
it's incredible. It's got a true Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper, which again, I've already said, fairly new in the industry. Been around Rocky for a long time, and all the other guys learning it like a sponge. But I didn't know that Ecuadorian Sumatra was something that was pretty much off the market for a long time because of black shank and blue mold. And I listen to what Rocky says about it and regurgitate it. And he was able to get some farmers to work on it and got a hold of it and aged it and fermented it. And here it is for the 20th anniversary of the Edge brand coming out. It's a beautiful Ecuadorian Sumatra wrapper. It looks like a candy bar when you see it. And the fillers, I think you guys are going to really enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy Edge myself anyway. I was smoking Edge back in the day when I started smoking, when I was introduced
Same
to this
here.
industry.
Same here.
And you get spoiled in your own way thinking that, oh, God, we got this and we got that, and you're smoking all that, and you forget about Edge. And, man, every time I go back to smoke, I love the Habano, the Edge Habano, the Edge Corojo, the original, I mean, you go back to those and like, wow. So, I wasn't sure. I knew about it. I knew it was coming. I knew we were working on the blends, did some of the test blends with Rocky, a couple of opportunities I had with the guys down in the office, but just wasn't really sure what the end result was going to be. And man, what a home run! It's not. You'll know when you smoke it. It respects the brand where it came from, but it also brings forward where we've come to since then as a company, as an industry. The tobaccos that we have our hands on now that maybe we didn't before. And I mean, we smoked it, Pat, together, and I'll tell you, I mean, that night we were, I kept going back to it.
Yeah.
Just,
I think I smoked
So-
4 of them then.
yeah. So I mean, again, just on behalf of Rocky and Nish and Nimish and all the guys in the office. I mean, we're really excited to be able to do the things that we do and produce these blends and give the consumers the opportunity to see the end result of a lot of work that goes on. I mean, we're already right now, like, trying to work on things for the next great product that we come out with and the next great blend. And, you know,
It
it's
wouldn't-
always exciting.
it
Rocky
wouldn't be
comes in.
PCA without 3 more things. from
Nah,
Rocky
you know, I don't
Patel.
know. I mean, I don't know. Again, it being new, I mean, I'm with you guys. I hear it, you know, but we'll see. I mean, this year was a little bit different, and you know, I know when
Yep, but it
when
was
you
very-
get the opportunity
very
to get
good for
together
him.
with the guys, and next thing you know, the bag comes out and it's got the white bands on it with just this little weird code. And you don't know what it is. It might have a number 1, number 2, to number 8 or whatever. And next thing you know, you're smoking it. And what do you think? Which one do you like out of those? And I love that part. I mean, of the process. I wish I had the opportunity to do it on a more regular basis to really be a part of, like, all right, we just smoked these 6. I like that one because of this, that one because of that, and everywhere in between. And the other thing too, Pat, with our conversation, I think is really important to for folks to hear is, like, you asked Rocky a question that I don't know if I've ever heard anybody ask him that. Like, do you blend a cigar for you, for your profile, your palate, or you blend a cigar, you know, for what you think's gonna sell? And sitting next to Rocky when you asked him that question,
Rocky
it was,
said
I mean,
yes.
like before Pat was even finished, it's like, nah, I would never. He's never gonna blend a cigar because he thinks that's what people want. They're gonna sell. He's gonna blend something he thinks is really badass, and hopefully everybody agrees with him and they can get what they want out of
He
it.
trusts his taste.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I think this is good. Of course, everybody's going to think this is good. It's that sort
Right.
of thing. Yeah.
All right. So, Mike, it's been a while since we've had you on the show.
Mhm.
What the heck have you been up to? How's your back?
Oh God,
Last time,
I know.
I think I don't even know how long it's been since the accident. and
So
all
yeah,
that
the
stuff.
quick recap. So
Yeah.
basically, I was a
Recap,
police
recap.
officer for 32 years. Been friends with Rocky for a long time. God, probably half or more of that career. And the last few years of my career, you know, the word was out that I was looking to retire and end it. And Rocky's like, "You're going to be my guy. Come on." And I'm like, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm not a salesman doing him a coffee. And I'm going to go work for the DOD. Rest is history. But anyway, hey Rick. Anyway, I started, and I only had several months doing this to try to get my feet under me, and then COVID happened. So, I mean, you might as well take out a year and a half, 2 years. And then literally at the end, stuff started to open up, and I started to get out there and, you know, doing my thing. And then I got in that car accident, and I broke my back. And that was like 10, 11 months that I was, you know, I was doing things. I mean, towards the end of that time period, I had, you know, I was getting rides from Sean and Kevin and driving me around and help me out. But yeah, I'm here now. I'm better. I started swinging the clubs again. So how can I actually talk to everybody right now and say, like, oh yeah, my back. I'm swinging the clubs. So I'm sore. I'm stiff. I think I'm always going to be sore and stiff. I still have trouble putting my socks and shoes on. The kids make money to help me out once in a while when I'm really stiff. But I'm not complaining. I'm
You got
not
one of those
complaining.
little sock sticks.
Yeah.
You gotta put
Yeah, I need to do more. I need to probably do a little more stretching, a little more on my end. But I appreciate you asking, and I'm really looking forward to next year. To really, I feel like for me, based on everything, and I've had some stuff, personal stuff. You know, we talked about. I got a couple of family members that have been sick. That I've been dealing
Everybody,
with that.
a lot of us have had that.
But I think 2023 is gonna. I'm gonna count that as like my first year of starting off January 1st fresh, and it's gonna be a complete smooth sailing through the end of the year, and none of these crazy happenings. Let's hope. But I love it. I mean, I love it. I'm so happy that the decision was made to take the leap and do this, because honestly, this was way out of my wheelhouse. When I decided to say yes and do this, it was way out of my wheelhouse. And I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't think that I was up for it. They all thought I was. Rocky and Nish and all, and Dave Bullock and Max and all those guys. Like, oh, you got this. I'm like, selling. Like, I don't know. That's just not my thing, you know. But I love people. I talk. Obviously, you guys are probably right now saying just shut the hell up. I love to talk. And I'm very passionate about what we do here and sharing it with people. And you can't go anywhere in the country, quite frankly, anywhere in the world, and get dropped into a place like this. And next thing you know, you're amongst friends and you talk about things that you're probably not even talking about with your homeschool friends, you know?
Yeah.
And one last thing, just that you guys got me going sentimental a little bit, but I've been thinking about this podcast all day because we're doing the pipes and doing the cigars, and I remember my dad and my granddad aren't with us anymore, and I remember like growing up and my dad and my granddad having their whiskey and water and smoking cigars at the kitchen table. Which is, I have pictures. I cherish pictures. Just a couple I have that I recovered, you know. And then my grandfather, like on Friday nights, would sit in his chair and watch Friday Night Fights and smoke a pipe. And I could just remember the smells just being beautiful. And all. You remember. It's like being taken back in time, the black and white fights on TV. So it's really cool, like, to just be a part of this industry. And like every time you guys got me into pipes, honestly, like it was almost like a thing that was like in the back of my mind.
All back, right?
It brought it
all.
It was
all
like
back.
it was there, but it wasn't there.
Yep.
And then you guys started talking to me. I was like, man, like this is like my grandfather, and I have his pipe bench or whatever you call that little, you know,
Pipe rack.
the pipe little end table that has where you put the pipe in, it has copper inside. You can hang your pipes and everything. Like I didn't get a whole lot. We have a big family. I didn't get a whole lot of little mementos from my grandparents, who I was very close with when they passed, but I got that. And
Right.
it's like cherished. I have that in my house. It's in my living room right now. I don't smoke in my living room, but it's there. I look at it every day, you know. And
You should smoke in your living room.
yeah,
It's one of the great
I'm working
experiences of
on.
life.
I'm working on pushing for a raise, and then I'm gonna maybe get my little smoking room done on an addition and stuff like that. You guys can help me with that. You put a
I
Private
don't mind doing
smoking
that.
lounge.
Yeah.
That's what I need. I need what Sean has. I mean, you guys are gonna see it. This
Yeah,
weekend. He's
yeah.
got
We're
the
looking forward
Lancero
to that.
Lounge.
The Lancero Lounge. That's
Yeah.
gonna be fun to be at.
But thanks for asking. I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah.
it.
So making that adjustment and dealing with all the what's the thing that's been the most fun for you with this?
God, so with this job in general, like the fun, I just think like
Don't say driving around with Rocky at 3 in the morning.
No. I mean, obviously, we were having fun before I was doing this. Obviously, it's so easy to get up in the morning and share something that you really believe in, and you're friends with the people that are putting all this stuff together. So like that's a box checked. But I just love doing this. Like I can't believe that my job is to really travel throughout the territory, which is all of New England. I do upstate New York. I go all the way to Buffalo. I don't get into the city.
Right.
But and just hang out with people like this, men and like it doesn't matter. We just hang out. I love talking about the company. I love talking about what I've learned about the industry, which I'm still learning, obviously,
Right.
And this is work. Like work is actually coming and hanging out, smoking a cigar, enjoying something you love, you're passionate about, and I love talking about. Let's not forget about how we get to do this. Like what I love to talk about, I've learned a lot with talking about with Rocky and Nish and Hamlet, which we've been around a lot too, about the sets of hands that go to putting this cigar together. And I love talking about the factories and the workers and all that goes into, we go to a shop and we take a cigar out of a box and we take it out of the cellophane and we smoke it, or we buy that box and we open it up and we get to see the finished product of all those people that got together. I mean, obviously, Rocky and everybody has a big piece of it, but there's people that have to take what they've put together and make it happen, right? Like the seedlings and the plants, and like you talked about the prime-ins and the bunching and the rolling and draw testing and packaging and making sure they all look the same before you shut the box. I mean, I think that's so cool about this industry, because we're sharing that whole experience right now. That
Let me ask you something else, and if you need to take a second to think about this, I'll ask Pat to talk for a minute to give you some time. All right. How do you think this transition from, law enforcement to, cigar salesman and everything that you've had to learn along the way, how do you think that's helped you grow as a person?
That is a really deep question, Dan. I did a lot of growing as a person, 32 years working the streets.
Do you think
Question.
Do you
Dan.
Yeah.
do you think you're a better husband, father, friend now because of what you've learned in the industry
Well,
before you started.
God, like I could get really deep with this, and there's a lot of things floating around in my mind. But I think a general
Kaz is
answer
starting to
to
sweat
that
thinking about what I might ask
to that
him.
question is, when you do the work that I did before, it's easy to get cynical, which I feel like I did a really good job of not, and really tried to look at the best and make a difference. I know when I hung up the cuffs or the badge or whatever and transitioned, like, I know I made a difference.
At
I love you,
home or
Kaz.
Yeah, well, yeah. No, those are still in action. Oh God, hopefully she doesn't click on this button. It's really fulfilling to know that you've made a difference, and the work that I did was actually pretty, important stuff. I did all like the domestic violence, sexual assault, all that kind of stuff. So you're making a real big difference in a lot of people's lives when you respond to that stuff in a positive way. But I think for me, it really opened up the opportunity to appreciate like people in a different way and at a different level. Like I just think it's almost like the camaraderie with law enforcement. Like there's a lot of camaraderie, man. Like we,
Totally.
and we still have it. Like we still get together. We have the policeman's ball Friday. I can't wait. I'm gonna see a lot of people I haven't had the chance to break bread with and have a couple cocktails and in a while. But I think there's a definite camaraderie in the people that enjoy cigars and even the people in the industry. So the owners and the managers and the national people and all that, like when we get together at these big PCA and all that kind of stuff. But I guess
It's
that
a
would
fraternity.
be and I think that would be I guess I could probably get so deep on it if I really processed it, but I just think in general, like just like enjoying being around people in this type of setting versus like the grind and getting up and I mean you don't see the best parts of life a lot in the work that I did before. There's a lot of really good, fulfilling moments and happy moments and all that.
Yep.
But there's a very major dark side. And honestly, like I get up in the morning
Like crime
and
scenes?
it's like I'm excited I'm going to go to this shop and I'm going to see so and so and I hope the regulars are there so I can talk to them and we can talk about sports and we can smoke cigars. I can talk about new products and I'm worrying about Corojo, Maduro, Torpedo, Churchill versus knives, guns, fentanyl, all the crazy stuff that happened before. So it's been an awesome transition. I wouldn't change it for it's almost like I almost feel like I was doing it longer. I almost feel like somehow 10 years ago Rocky just said, get out of there. You come with me right now and we're going to figure this out,
Took him a while to get you out,
Yeah.
but he did.
Yeah.
That's good.
So,
That's good.
but I wouldn't take anything back. I mean, I really, it was a great career. And everybody takes the job as in law enforcement. I know this is not the best time. I mean, we're going through a lot of stuff in this country, world anyway.
Yeah.
But, everybody that puts the badge on and takes that oath is there to help people and make a difference in their community. And it's very fulfilling if you do the things that you promise to do when you do that,
Yep.
And I did.
Yep.
And so many others do. I mean, obviously, you could pick out things here that just didn't go well, and people probably didn't deserve to be doing the job. But and I love that about our company, because our company, I wouldn't be here. Our company is very pro law enforcement, fire, military, nurses, doctors, teachers. Like we're very first responder. That type of we make special signs. We have lighters. I mean, Rocky. I mean, honestly, that's how I'm here. Like we would go to this festival with a group of guys from the police department, and we would hang out at his booth, and we just developed a friendship because they're so welcoming to law enforcement and treating us really good. Next thing you know, you get to know somebody at a different level that you wouldn't be able to otherwise, and then you develop a friendship. And we go around and we do a lot. I mean, I've seen Rocky. We've been at festivals and different things, and law enforcement guys come, and it's just he lights up. Firefighters show up, he lights up. Any military guy, so it's kind of cool to, and for all I know, every company's like that. I have no idea. I know our company, I'm too busy figuring out this.
They're not all
what I
like
need to
that.
do.
Rocky is a special guy that way.
And we have a homegrown heroes line, with the signs and the different, we have the thin blue line lighter, and so it's really cool to be able to talk to, like I do like dinners and I do events, and there's always police, fire, military that come up and you talk, and it's like I make that connection with them too,
Right.
and I'm able to actually truly say, my boss, our company supports you 1,000,000%. Like we get it, we support you, anything we can do for you. So I don't know, it's kind of a little added thing.
That's a good little added thing.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
a good little added thing. I'm glad you added it. That's good.
Yeah.
We're just about at the end of the first half of the show.
Okay.
So I want to get everybody's final thoughts on the DBS 60 here. Dave, you want to give us your thoughts on the cigar?
Yeah, one of my favorite things about it that I get from it is like this orange chocolate, and I feel like it's really, it kind of like got morphed more over to like a caramel, or even to like a molasses because of the pairing.
Yep.
But
Yeah, I agree with that.
The 660 is definitely like one of the best versions of this cigar.
The
out
camera. Hey, DBS.
Pat, what are your final thoughts? We know what mics are. It's smoking good. So
I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll kind of echo what I said in the beginning. I mean, for whatever reason, the 60 gauge just is the best one. I mean, you guys can give your opinion about it, but if you want to really, in my opinion, like experience the DBS, like you have to try the 60 gauge, and that's something I probably haven't said on the show once.
No,
the 60.
that's very un-Pat to say. So for Pat to say it, take it seriously.
Yeah, I was surprised when you told me we were doing the 60 gauge. I'm a Corona Lonsdale type of guy,
As is Pat and myself.
and like you showed me the gauge. I'm like, okay, well, this is interesting. This is a first, and yeah, this is really good.
Yeah, and you might think it's gonna be like, oh, that's big, it's gonna blow me, I'm gonna get sick. No, no, this is gonna be right in the.
And I mean, we talked about it too, like
Yeah.
with that like bigger Vitola, like DBS, you have both those broadleaf binders, like you have more of that tobacco in the
Yeah.
cigar, so that could credit to why you kind of get more out of it.
Right.
Like again, that's probably a question for Rocky.
Yeah.
If he was here, like why the 60 might have this kind of oomph to it that the Toro and Robusto don't, but yeah, like this, it's insane. Like
Yeah,
I
it's got
I
that
went
double
from-
broadleaf binder, and like maybe some other 60s, because the blend is the blend, and when you're making the blend in a bigger gauge, again, I'm no expert. I try to learn, and I am like a sponge. So like maybe the blend has like a lot of Viso, a little bit of Seiko, and a little bit of Ligero just to bring it up a little bit. And next thing you're gonna make a 6x60. Well, if you're gonna make that bigger, you're gonna put more Seiko, more Viso, and just a little bit more Ligero. So maybe some blends might not even be stronger than what this is, but because this has a double broadleaf binder, and it has the Nicaraguan and the Pennsylvania, and then it has the Nicaraguan in the filler as well, it's not really going to drop dramatically, right? I mean, again, you probably know more than me, Pat. You've been through, I mean,
a lot of the time,
the only class I took was with Rocky and Nish, teaching me all the stuff along the way.
I mean, a lot of the time when you have like a Corona, like I usually smoke, like those are usually the stronger
Yeah,
cigars. I mean,
I
like,
agree.
Just use it. A month ago on the show, we did Aladino, the Corona Reserve number 4. Like that's the fullest bodied, strongest variant of that whole line, and it's also the smallest version of it. And that's why when I smoked this morning, I was like, for whatever reason, I just thought the 60 might bring something else out, and it did. And it was actually surprisingly more fuller bodied than the other variants of it. Not that the other ones are bad at all.
No, not at all.
Like I'm usually a Toro smoker, and the Toro's phenomenal. Like don't get me wrong at all, but it just, for my palate, the 60 gauge just gives it that extra polish to it that I look for personally.
And I have to, because you guys mentioned the smaller ring gauges and everything. So, I mean, I love Lanceros. And you mentioned you love that Sungrown Maduro.
Yeah.
I love it too.
The Lancero's
we don't
my
make a lot of
favorite now.
Lanceros. We make that Sungrown Maduro and a Lancero. It'll blow you away.
It's
I
awesome,
love
yeah.
it. I special a lot of those for myself to smoke. There's like a little note like, can I get some Sungrown Maduro Lancero for me? Because they're just so good.
I was gonna say
Try
one
those.
question. Rocky, doesn't he blend in a Corona when he's sampling blends, or is that?
You know what? I wouldn't be the best person to ask. I know he has. I've seen them, but I've also tasted some, the final 5-6 blends that have been in Robusto too. So I don't really know. That's really a question for him. I'm not around that enough to really say. But we've heard, I think we've talked about it a little bit. We've heard him talk about
Yeah.
that. I know he puts a whole lot of work into. I mean, down to the wire, where it's like, no, we need to figure this out, and it's like trying and switching and add one more leaf of this and a little bit more of that and everything. I mean, he's like ultra hands on, which is probably, again, I don't know other companies. It's probably like that with everybody, but I just know he's ultra hands on.
That's good. That's good. What are your thoughts, Kaz? Final thoughts on this?
Frankly, I think it's a damn good cigar. I mean, it's really smooth. It's got a good, bold, rich flavor, but it's something that's really easygoing. I mean, full-bodied, full flavor, but the strength is what I would expect in something that's more along the lines of. So looking at this and with the flavor, I expect something that would be just like full strength.
Right.
And this, I put more medium.
Yeah.
Full. Like this.
Yeah, it's like a medium plus.
Yeah, not quite medium full, but just
Yeah.
medium and a quarter.
Or
Strength wise. Now,
yeah.
flavor, it's really good in a pleasing way. It's full and rich, but not overbearing.
right.
This is something that I think would pair just as well with this bourbon or a coffee or anything that you're feeling like. I could even see myself smoking this just as easily in the morning as in the evening.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's not something you find a lot of with more full-bodied, full-flavored cigars.
You want to hear a funny story real quick? So I was with Nish recently, and I don't know. Do we fall into this by accident where all of a sudden it's like, oh, in the morning time I smoke mild cigars, or before lunch, this and that, and that's always been me. And I guess if I really look back, I don't even know why. It's because everybody else was saying smoke something mild during the day. And I was with Nish not too long ago, and it was early. We were actually golfing, getting ready to tee off, and I was like, oh, I'm gonna smoke a vintage 99, nice mild cigar. He's like, what's wrong with you? Like, what do you do? Do you have espresso in the morning? Like, I love coffee. He's like, yeah, I like nice bold espresso in the, like a nice, rich coffee in the morning. Like, so why do you have to smoke something so mild? Why don't you get something to open up your palate and start your day and everything? And actually, he's changed me. Like, I started actually smoking like some nice zesty cigars in the morning, and I'm enjoying it.
See, that's how I am in that. Not to jump ahead, that's how I was with pipe tobacco, because I have found that with cigars, I don't smoke a lot of mild cigars, but I start milder in my preferences, so I can increase in intensity throughout the day.
Right.
But
Which makes sense.
But with pipe tobacco, which you're dealing also with nicotine strength that's more aligned with certain flavor and body profiles. My first pipe of the day is always my strongest tobacco, because it gets you going. Like, if you build up, I find that the stronger nicotine levels, and I feel it'd probably be the same with cigars, hit you harder later. But if you start hit you over the head strength as far as nicotine, you can smoke whatever you want to the rest of the day. And
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Prime the pump, get everything ready.
Yep.
Set the bar high.
Absolutely.
And I'm not saying that I don't do mild cigars in a day still sometimes, but you know what? I'm way more now open to I'm gonna have a disciple this morning with my coffee,
right.
and it's awesome.
Yeah,
It gets you pumped.
Yeah.
it does. All right.
Thanks, Nish.
So at this point, we're gonna switch over to our pipe tobacco, and that brings us.
Can I just make a note that every single person's cigar on this panel is smoking exactly perfect?
Yes.
Completely round.
Perfect.
All right, that's it. That's I'm gonna
Yeah.
stop. I'm gonna stop now, people.
It's been.
I just want to
awesome.
give you a little lanyap at the very end of my time. Yeah.
I have to. I've been very impressed. I've been very impressed. Very impressed with the cigar. And so
I'm excited to try your tobacco right now.
now we are going to smoke this
Bankside.
GLP's Bankside. This is a brand new tobacco from GLP's, and I'll read you what it says on the tin here. From a bold traditional canvas of red and bright Virginias and genuine St. James Perique emerge subtle contrasting strokes of dark-fired Kentucky and Latakia tobaccos, or originating exotic smoky undertones that support and enrich its notes of sweet cream and citrusy tang in this modernist reinterpretation of the archetypal Virginia Perique flake. And
Listen, I didn't go to Harvard. I can't even
Other
figure
way.
out this lighter.
Other way. Other way.
Oh.
Other way.
the other way.
There you
You're
go.
getting there. You're getting there. You're
I
getting
didn't
there.
go to Harvard.
What the? Can I use a torch on this thing or what?
Come on.
All right, how about give me that number 6 one. I have mine I bought here, by the way. I have my pipe lighter over there. It was far away.
All right.
This must be a really fancy one.
You want to give us a little bit of schooling on this here tobacco there, Kazi?
So this is a very anticipated release. GLPs, or Greg, as he goes by. If you ever meet him in person, he'll tell you if I'm Greg.
Thank you.
He's been renowned for his blends for years. He started out at Drucker and Sons, a tobacconist in Berkeley, which was founded by, I mean, it's generational, started over in London.
Right.
And he branched out on his own as a side job. I think he was going through, he had hand surgeries. He was in programming and stuff, and so he had to take some time off, and he started blending using the knowledge he had learned at this tobacconist. And ever since then, like, his stuff just took off. And it's been about a year since we've had a new release from him, maybe a little bit longer. And it has been very well received. It's a fantastic Virginia Perique, but he's added just a little something extra there with the Laudisi Distribution. If you're a Virginia Perique smoker, don't let that scare you off.
It's such a small amount.
Yeah, so I won't, at the risk of making Greg send me some angry emails later, like, I'm not going to disclose specifics, but I'll tell you, like, we're in like single-digit percentages here. So don't if you're afraid of Laudisi, don't be with this blend. It's more or less just adds body, and that citrusy tang he's referencing. Yeah, that's coming from Red Virginia, but there's a little bit of it, like almost like orange peel or orange zest, like a bitter citrus that's added by the Laudisi on top of the creaminess and the body that it brings. It's a very rich, very satisfying tobacco, honestly, and it being pressed in a flake,
Right.
fermented and aged, even amps up that creamy, smooth body that comes with it. I mean, he's knocked it out of the park, and excitingly so, this is the first entry in a whole new line of his brand, the Zeitgeist series.
Yeah. Yeah. You want to talk a little bit about the whole pressing process that goes on with this to make the flakes
Sure.
for
So,
people who don't know?
yeah. So when you press tobacco,
That'd be me.
well, you'll know more about it than I think you realize, because pressing tobacco serves a very similar function to rolling. You're taking pressure, and even to a greater extent, if you box press a tobacco, it's further pushing that forward. But when you press tobacco under pressure,
We're talking tons, too.
yes. And honestly, I wish I had been more prepped. I know exactly the PSI that Cornell and
No
Dillon
way.
uses when they manufacture for this stuff, but you're pushing out oxygen. You're making all of the oils and the sugars in the leaf come to the surface. So on the superficial effect is you're getting a melding of flavor of all the different constituent tobaccos. So instead of picking out individual, like, oh, that's this and that's this and that's this, and it being disjointed, you take all of these flavor profiles and elements, and you've made it one homogeneous flavor. And then on the more technical side, the weeks it spends under pressure, you cause a fermentation, which I'm sorry if I'm butchering this. It's not dissimilar to what is done with cigar tobacco with pilons. Like,
yeah, Pilone.
I was going to ask you if it's like Palone. I was just going to ask you. I
yes,
don't want to interrupt
you
you.
have a
Leave
natural.
me Pilone.
Palones. Palones. Pantalones.
Pantalones. You have pantomimes? No, pantalones. Pantalones.
But you get a
Hello.
fermentation, which brings a smoothness as far as the mouthfeel and the flavor. It takes off any rough edges that you get from the tobacco. It brings that richness. It brings a sweetness, like a natural sweetness. And it brings a depth and almost a fruity character.
I'm like absolutely tasting like a tangerine or something,
And that's from
which is really nice.
that's
pleasant.
from the red Virginias that he uses in this blend, and then I think it's further amplified by
By the Latakia.
I mean, it is a hair's breadth of Latakia. It's not really impacting flavor, but it's bringing that. Do you ever get like an orange rind or something
Yeah.
from Latakia?
Yeah,
like
yeah.
it's this bitter citrus, but not like the flesh, more like the peel.
Yeah.
And it's further amplified by pressing. So you get that mellowing, that deepening, and then instead of just leaving it cut into plugs, like it's cut into flakes, so it's easy to prep. And as a flake, it burns slower and yields a richer flavor than, say, like a ribbon cut tobacco, which is what I think most people, especially those who aren't intimately familiar with pipe smoking or may have seen it but haven't actually done it, they assume pipe tobacco is all this loose cut tobacco. And it's a very old technique that originated with the English. You know, it would take them 3 months to cross the Atlantic to the colonies and back.
Yeah.
So tobacco would dry out. You press it, it holds its moisture, and then they found much more added benefit to doing that with flavor and smokability. And so whether or not it was meant for traveling or not, like pressing tobacco and flakes, plugs, that became a preference for a lot of
really
people.
Pleasant.
Dave, what are you picking up from this?
I'm definitely getting a lot of tangerine, like orange peel,
Right.
a little. Definitely a nice spice. I don't know if I'd call it baking spice. It's more.
I wouldn't.
So do you think there's like a half decent amount of folks that are listening to this or watching this right now that are more cigar than pipe and learn? Like that's me totally. Like again, this is a whole journey for me. I'm learning
Yeah,
every
yeah.
time I talk to you guys, when I do my calls with you guys. For me, like a couple of questions that I would have just about smoking pipes and pipe tobacco in general. This is going to sound crazy. Like you guys are going to laugh at me. Everybody's going to be making comments, but my stem, my mouthpiece is going straight out, and I notice you are a little bit, but you guys have these like tall hooks. Is there a difference, almost like a torpedo versus a Toro or a 60? Is there a difference in smoking out of a pipe that comes up and hooks out versus one that's more kind of straight out?
Can I
Yeah,
take
please.
this though?
'Cause that's probably, if it's a stupid question, say that's
No,
kind of
it's
No,
stupid.
no,
not.
it's
Yeah.
not stupid at all. So, like, I feel like you're in the right box, just not quite the right corner. With a bend, it's more comfortability. Like, if you're a clincher, a lot of guys who clinch prefer a steeper bend because of gravity.
So
Like,
yeah.
the
You're walking
center
around
of
with the pipe,
gravity is,
yeah.
yeah. I'm an outlier. I clinch like Bing Crosby. Like, I prefer a straight because I balance at my teeth.
Yeah.
But a lot of guys who clinch, like, are fully closing their teeth, and that center of gravity pulling straight down instead of out.
It
and
doesn't
down.
change the flavor profile too much. then.
No, but one thing that will though is chamber proportion. So, the conventional wisdom is if a bowl is shallow, but the chamber is wide, those are better for Englishes or blends that have many different varieties because you have them all burning simultaneously. Whereas narrow chambers are better for like Virginia flakes or things like that because you get a concentration of flavor. So chamber can impact flavor, especially like if you're dealing with just a normal chamber or what they call a conical chamber, which will further focus as you burn down and with intensity. Like as you're smoking a cigar, you have the first third, the second third, and the last third, and that last third is where all that tobacco has had all of the other smoke flowing through it. So it affects that flavor. So a conical chamber works in a similar fashion. It's focusing in. But a bend isn't going to impact it as much. It's more of a either aesthetic or
Personal preference
or
kind of thing.
comfortability.
Yeah.
Comfortability is the practical side, but if I'm being honest, aesthetics went out with that. As someone who sells pipes all day, every day, like that's what I do, it is not hyperbolic to say that bent pipes outsell straight pipes. Like for every
So yours outsells this. Yours outsells this by far.
oh yeah, like for every straight pipe I sell, I've sold 3 bents.
Wow.
But that's not boiling down to like whether or not they're a clincher. Like guys like the silhouette of a bent pipe. Like there's just something
Well, that's what you see when you see the.
that silhouette. Yeah.
Yep.
The other thing I was going to ask is like the tobacco itself. So, what would be the difference between from seedling, like, so let's just forget about the seedling, it's growing, but from when you harvest it
Mhm.
to the point where it gets into a can or into a bag where you're putting it in a pipe, what's the difference between like cigar tobacco, which like, we do our probably it all, it's in the pilons and it gets fermented, all the impurities get fermented out of it, it's only water, like there's nothing unnatural at all, it's just water gets sprayed on it and it goes to the temperature change and all that, and it goes in to the cigar. Like,
So
is there any differences with, because
not as
like
much
the
as you would
flavor is
think.
crazy, like the flavor is like so different, rich, and it's just
Yeah.
different flavors.
Yeah.
It's way different than
There's not as
cigar
much
tobacco.
as you would think. So the first thing that impacts, and for the sake of brevity, and to not like put all of our listeners and viewers asleep.
So they're not all pipe tobacco 101s like me. I'm sorry,
So
people.
So for the
I'm here for the 1%.
yeah. So cigar tobacco is, and correct me if there's anything wrong here. Like I love cigars. I know a fair bit about cigar tobacco, but pipe tobacco is my area of expertise. So correct me if I say anything wrong here, but cigar tobacco is varied in flavor, but that is impacted by the region it's grown,
Soil.
and or as wine connoisseurs would call the terroir, or the how long it's fermented. Like that's what dictates, how you get Maduro, Oscuro, like things like that. With pipe tobacco, you have a wider spectrum of flavor, because all cigar tobacco, with limited exception, is air cured. There are myriad curing methods for pipe tobacco. So in this particular blend, which the base is made of Virginia tobacco, which is synonymous with flue curing. So they cut the tobacco, specifically red Virginia. That's going to be the upper primings. They've got more sunlight, a little bit less sugar, but a richer body, fuller flavor. When they cut those leaves, they're hung in a curing barn that is flue cured, meaning it's dried with indirect heat. It's not left to air dry. There is hot air pumped through this, so it's not like smoke
Way
or
different.
fire,
Yeah.
but it is hot air. So that rapid curing, that rapid heat, preserves sugar in the leaf. Air curing sugars degrade and they go away. So that's why there's that
We're trying to
natural
take them out.
sweetness.
You're trying to keep them in and enrich
Yeah.
them. And
So you have that first. That's the foundation. There's bright Virginias, which are lower on the stalk. They're not as cooked. So if in cigar terms, like they're not going to be ugly leaves. These would be comparable, close to being like wrapper quality, because they're not like hit by the elements so much.
right.
They're cured at a higher temperature at a faster rate, which makes them sweeter, brighter. And there's a little bit of that in here as well to kind of bring balance to the Virginias. Then with the Perique, that is partially air cured, and it only comes from St. James Parish, Louisiana. It's the only place in the world where this tobacco is grown. It's an old Choctaw and Cherokee form.
We need to go there.
Yeah. And they cut the tobacco. It's partially air cured, and then it is packed under several tons of pressure into like bourbon barrels, but they haven't been used. It's not to impart flavor, but they're under immense pressure for about a year. They're fermented, and because there's still moisture in them,
bourbon barrels.
in
So
barrels.
very similar to like we're having a nice whiskey here,
Yeah, but
and
it's
it picks up some of the flavors.
but it's continuous pressure. It's under like jack screws, so it's almost and they've actually proven this. A lot of the flavor compounds you get from Perique are identical to the flavor compounds you find in red wine. So it's a fermentation process that then they break it out, and it's oily and dark and pungent, and it's kind of crazy, and it's so powerful. You very rarely find more than 10% a blend, because it can just. And then with the Latakia, that's a Turkish or Oriental form of tobacco, which starts its life out as being sun cured, which is halfway between air cure and flue cure, because you have a rapid curing, but because the soil there is so nutrient deficient, there's not a lot of rain, the leaves are actually like really small. Once they're air cured, or sun cured, excuse me, they're put in a barn and they're fire cured, and smoked for months. So it's a really pungent, smoky campfire over like hardwoods like pine and things like that. And that's why I was talking about. Usually it dominates a blend as little as like 5 to 10%. That's all you, oh, well, I won't say all, but it's very apparent that it's in the blend. And that just speaks to Greg's like blending prowess to be able to utilize it to get those orange rind and creamy notes without impacting this incredibly dominant smoky flavor.
Yeah.
So that's why you get like different
The
flavors.
complexity is amazing.
Yeah, there's
There's
so
a
many
lot
different
going on.
curing methods. And then when you bring all these different tobaccos that have been cured in so many different ways and meld them under pressure with a flake, you get something really special.
Yeah.
Now let me ask you a question. It's on this tin. I've seen it, on a lot of tins coming out, where it's not just Perique. You're saying it's genuine St. James Perique. Like it's a point of saying genuine St. James Perique. What is that? What are you trying to? What does that mean?
There's a
Genuine.
reason why you had that word.
So around the late 90s, I think actually 1999, but just in case I'm wrong, late 90s, the single source in the world that had always been the source for Perique, like since the 18th century, was down to just very few barrels. Perique was about to go away completely. And it's known as the truffle of tobaccos. It's expensive. It's very expensive. It's rare, and it's unique because of the soil and how it's cured. To save it, that operation continued, but it was supplemented with tobacco grown in similar, although not identical, regions of the United States. Green River, Kentucky tobacco, things like that. Tobaccos that were very, very similar were then transferred to Louisiana, St. James Parish. For anybody who's unfamiliar, Louisiana does not have counties; they have parishes. So
La Frouche.
yeah, so like for the sake of let's say like St. James County, like this little area, and they were fermented and they went through the same treatment as the tobacco grown locally, which was no longer enough to really supply at that time the world supply. And once they were fermented, a blender would take tobacco from these other sources that had gone through the exact same treatment curing process, although from different locations, and blend it with genuine St. James Perique to develop a very, very similar, although not identical flavor profile. And it was eventually given the moniker Acadian Perique. And for about 2 decades, it was not only reasonable, it was a almost guaranteed assumption that anything advertising Perique as a blending component contained Acadian Perique, which was a blend. In the past year or so, our head blender Jeremy Reeves at Cornell and Deal developed a friendship or relationship with a family farm in St. James Parish. That all they do is they grow St. James Perique in St. James, Louisiana. And through that friendship, he took several trips, spent a lot of time with them, planting seeds, harvesting, curing, pressing, like going through the entire process. And because of that, I'm 99% sure, forgive me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty much entirely sure we're the only current manufacturers of pipe tobacco in the world that use exclusive St. James in all of our blends, which is something that has not been seen in decades.
Have the hurricanes that have hit, in the last 5-6 years really affected the crop and everything?
It
Because
does.
We deal with that.
Yeah, and I'll loop right around to that. So not only do we have a single source for our Perique, and not only is it St. James, but like Jeremy goes down and he hand selects barrels, like individually, many of which he may have planted or helped ferment. So like it's a very hands-on, it's a partnership. As far as hurricanes, so that not only are you dealing with, you're fermenting a product that's not fully cured and it's an organic product, so it hasn't fully air cured. It's still got those natural juices and liquids in the leaf when it goes into the barrel. It's a very wet, oily tobacco. which, if all it takes is one spore, and that entire barrel is gone. And a barrel's 500 pounds. And you're talking about a very limited growing region. But if you have a hurricane come through that destroys your crop, like you have
Wow.
scarcity, so it's not an exaggeration to say 500 pounds of Perique, which is a barrel, can cost 10, 20, 30 times what 500 pounds of any other tobacco, no matter how rare or aged it is, because it is so high risk, it is so labor intensive. And so, yeah, like if a hurricane comes through and bowls through Louisiana, like
happens
yeah,
more
like,
often than we want.
that presents issues, and that's why it was endangered. It's not. It is not unfair to say that there was a time there that Perique could have completely disappeared. In fact, some manufacturers tried to kind of synthesize that flavor because they were anticipating not ever being able to get more back in those days in the 90s.
And you guys have it in this. This
Yeah.
is very, very flavorful.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm enjoying it.
we use top tier components, and then Greg is a renowned blender, so it is a fantastic blend, and like it's worth noting.
Dave,
But
hand that drink to Mike.
it's hard to be surprised at this point, because, like, I mean, how long had you said that you've been smoking Greg stuff?
Since about 2000, 1999, 2000.
So we're looking at 22 years, and
Yeah.
like pipe tobacco isn't like, and I hate to use this analogy, but like cigarette smokers, like they have brand loyalty, like they're only going to smoke the same thing forever. But pipe tobacco, like pipe smokers are going to smoke a little bit of everything,
Right.
and to have that kind of loyalty to this blender and these components, and like that to me speaks to the quality of these blends and the final product.
Yep.
I mean, I know my questions are very 101, and like you guys said, like people are probably like, "What the heck?" But on it, like maybe there was like a lot of people that were just cigar smokers, like were listening to the first half and everything. And I'm honestly like, you can do both. Don't be afraid to do
This
both.
is
Like
one of
this,
the
I'm
reasons
enjoying this,
love,
and I always
love having
do.
both of you on.
Yeah.
Kaz is a pipe guy who he enjoys cigars. You're a cigar guy who enjoys
Yeah.
pipes, and it's not like you have to choose. It's just if you enjoy tobacco, you'll enjoy a pipe.
There's
If
room
you
for
enjoy a
both.
pipe, you'll enjoy a cigar, and
And-
it's very different flavors on both sides.
And
Totally different.
Another thing that I think you'd appreciate, you being a former police officer, this family farm has been that does the Perique. They've been in operation generations, but the name of the farm is 31 Farms, and that is actually, it derives its name from the father's badge number when he was a police
No way.
officer. His badge number was 31. So
Yeah.
yeah, like that. I mean, it all ties in. There's we're just very fortunate we were able, and Jeremy was able to make that relationship and
That's
be
really
so
cool, man.
hands-on. Yeah.
So, how did this new blend come about? What inspired Greg to come up with a new series? He hasn't done that in a long, long time.
Greg, so way before I worked with Laudisi and before I was selling his stuff to brick and mortar retailers across the country, I was a pipe smoker. Like, I took the job because I was a pipe smoker and I wanted to work for a company that was an industry leader, and there were pipe smokers working for this company. It wasn't just like a business. Like, these people cared about the industry as a whole, not only just like their own what they were doing. But way back, I was smoking Greg's stuff, and I just happened to befriend him on social media.
Wow.
And we had conversations, and I'd tell him like what blends I liked. Before he came out with the Virginia Cream, like, I was fortunate enough, he sent me a prototype to get like feedback and stuff. So it was really cool. So like we have a friendship. But I asked him, I said, it was Meridian of the Old London series. It's kind of a sleeper.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic English, by the way. But I was smoking, it's like, this is good. Not saying that, like, every blend of his I'd smoked I enjoyed, but like this was like honed in on my taste at the time.
Right.
And what could you recommend that you make that's similar? And he said, nothing. And I said, okay. And he said, I try my best not to repeat myself. So like when he makes a blend, it's because he's inspired, or like he sees a whole, not maybe in his catalog, or maybe in just like the current offerings across any brand. It's like, hey, like there's this profile here that's just not filled, and he wants to shoot for that. And he, I mean, that's what brought this about, is that he saw something missing and he wanted to shoot for it, and he had this concept, and then he started having other concepts. He's like, no, this isn't something that's a new blend that I can just plug into my current lines. Like, there's a new line to be had here, and this is the first entry of the Zeitgeist.
Okay.
And so I'm really excited. This is phenomenal. I'm really excited to see what else he has in the works.
Pat, what are you picking up from this tobacco?
So I think one of the unique things about it that I appreciate is it has like a spicy flavor, but it's not like a sensational spice.
Mm-hmm.
So you have kind of like I'll call it
Kind
like
of
a,
like the DBS.
well, yeah, but I mean the DBS and the retro definitely had like that stimulating sensation, but this one has that kind of pepper texture, but it's not that kind of like sting, if that makes sense.
Right.
And then on the palate, you're getting, there's that little bit of that citrus peel, and then you're getting, like, really resting palate to me. It's more of like a figs and like that kind of baker spice, but it's really kind of a creamy, like sourdough type textured smoke. And then that finish just has like, like stone fruit and just figs and a little bit of cinnamon there. So it's definitely a really complex tobacco. And then again, like the fact that it has that spice to it as a flavor, but not like a sensation. It's like really, like when you get like a spicy sensation, I think that sometimes can kind of take away from the complexity of the tobacco, just because you have that, kind of, some people would say invasive. Again, like I look for spice when I'm smoking, but that sensation, it just kind of diverts your attention more so to that kind of sensation, opposed to like the nuance of the tobacco. So just the fact that it's not sensationally spicy, that makes sense. I don't know, Kaz might think I'm crazy.
So
but
tell me if you get any of this. I understand exactly what you're saying. So a combination of that citrusiness and that nondescript spice that's subtle and it's not peppery on the palate, but it's stimulating.
Yes.
Do you not get, while not overt, like an illusion of like ginger?
yeah, so that would be a
Yeah.
good one. Yep.
Yeah, it's like a
Spoken
cinnamon
like
ginger.
a true ginger.
I mean, I can't help it. I mean,
Looking
So
forward
am I-
to everything.
am I
we're just that awesome. Like,
Am I completely crazy to, and seriously, just say, dude, you probably ate something on the way here, to, that put that on your tongue. But I feel like I taste some kind of almost like a faint licorice or something.
no,
Or is it absinthe? Could it be like an absinthe
like
taste?
Yeah,
or-
like so absinthe gets a lot of its flavor from anise, which is a licorice flavor, like an anisette type thing.
Is that here, or am I just like
no,
something
I
going
think
on
it's a
with me?
combination of some of that citrusiness from the Virginias, but also you have that creamy effect and that spice from the Latakia. And then, can I see that? Hold on one second.
Dark fired.
Yes. Sorry. That's something I knew was in there, but I didn't know if that was the. So I went to check.
Yeah, you don't want to give the secrets up.
So there is a little bit, I mean, we're talking a little bit of Dark Fire Kentucky, which is a fire cured tobacco, but it's not like Latakia. It starts out as an air cured, similar to like a burley pipe tobacco, but it's not cured as long over smoke like Latakia, and it's cured over American hardwoods like oak, mesquite. So Latakia is more like a campfire aroma, whereas Kentucky is more like barbecue. But, and you smoke a lot of Kentucky, so tell me if you think I'm full of it or if you agree. You almost get a little bit of an anisette or licoricey quality
I'm
from
tasting it.
Kentucky
I
at
like
times.
it.
bit,
It's so
yeah.
subtle. It's like
As soon as
so
you said
subtle.
it, I was like, he's right. I never would have. I'm not a big licorice guy, so I never would have looked for that as an expression of what I was tasting. But it does. It fits.
So
totally get that.
I have a question I've meant to ask Kaz, but I always forget to when I'm with him, and I want to do it on a podcast. So,
Here we go.
Dun, dun, dun.
so when it comes to like premium
Are
cigars,
you
like
available?
I'm not going to
when
tell you
you're-
what cologne I use.
So when someone's blending a cigar, they rely on fumas. They take one of the leaves, they roll it, they smoke, you get the characteristics of that tobacco, and then they see what that pairs with. So when it comes to the pipe tobacco, again, like there's stuff in this pipe tobacco that we don't even know what's in it. You know what I mean? But there's a bunch of different components in there. So it seems to me that it's not as simple as having kind of a fuma type situation, like having, one of the components and smoking it alone and seeing how it's going to go with, whatever like systematic portions they're doing in a pipe blend. So how do you break it down individually and then plan how to blend it to the complete product?
So I can't speak to Greg's process. I know that he has a process. I know it's very involved, and I know that it's informed from his, literally decades of experience. But I will tell you that. So I've got two answers to that question. When components are purchased by Jeremy for Cornell Deal, who manufactures GLPs, he samples the raw components without any. So pipe tobacco can go through a myriad of processes, like individual components, not the final product. Anything from what they call stoving, which is essentially baking, to steaming, to there's all sorts of things. And then some don't go through anything of that at all, or you may have the same component in a single blend that has gone through, like some that's gone through this process, some that's gone through, you get added complexity there. But when it comes in, like Jeremy smokes these completely raw, like whole leaf, they get cut up and he smokes them, and he selects the vintage, the location, he goes through all of that. And then once he picks what he feels is the absolute, so there's two gates, the best product and the one that is in line with our quality standards as far as flavor profile. So this one may be like the sweetest Virginia, but that doesn't mean it's the best, if that makes sense.
Right.
Does.
So once he sets these are our blending components, this is what we're going to buy for the next year or whatever, this is what we're going to commit to stock. And then let's say Greg goes, hey, I have an idea for a blend. We will send him the components that we stock because he has confidence that we're using the best stuff that's available. With let's say that this exact blend of tobaccos, you were intimately familiar with the different components. Like you had smoked straight Kentucky and Perique and Latakia and Virginia. And I took the raw components and they were cut up in ribbons and I blended it right here, right now, and you loaded the pipe. You would be able to pretty easily pick out those different flavors. It's like cigars, like after they're rolled, they have to rest
Right.
and meld. If you have a ribbon cut blend that's set for a few weeks, even, then they start to get more homogenized. Months, okay, now you're dealing with one flavor profile. But then you add something to that with the pressing, which makes it right off the bat, all these tobaccos start fermenting together. It becomes increasingly difficult, and that's not out of secrecy, that's to attain a goal. So not only do you have the time here that these tobaccos have married together, like you would with a cigar, but they've been under immense pressure for a period of time to achieve a particular flavor goal. And that's one thing. So when Greg does a pressed tobacco versus a ribbon, like he can age them himself at home, but if he's shooting for a flake, like he'll get what he feels is, and he's got a good palate. He can estimate pretty well how things will
Good.
age.
Yeah.
But
We're just calling it, we're just saying good. Like it's not like
He's okay. Yeah.
good plus.
He's okay.
yeah, and I don't mean to
It's a
ramble
good-
here,
good
but like
plus.
once he gets
Maybe
like he
good
feels
plus
a
plus.
good base blend, then he will contact Cornell and Deal. He'll contact Jeremy and goes, hey, these are the proportions, these are the exact weights. Press it for X amount of time, do
And
this
let's
to
taste it.
and then send it to me. And then and he's been doing this for years, so he has a pretty good idea. Like it's not as trial and error as many people would think. I'm an amateur blender at home. I've built my own home press and I have a cutter and stuff. And it takes a lot of it's like being a cigar blender, like it's not something that you learn overnight.
It sounds very similar too, because like the same
Yeah,
thing
that's
will
what I'm
happen
saying,
with
there's not as
Rocky,
many
like,
differences as
and
you
then he'll
think.
be like, no, 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 we need a little more Lajero, we need the 6th priming of the Seiko. Like he switches things around. Do that and send it to me and let me try that, and that's how we come out with
virtually- yeah.
DBS. Like,
Yeah.
it takes a lot of turns, a lot of tries, and
Yeah, a lot of
to get it
trial.
perfect.
Because a tobacco blend that is great, like fresh, or in a pipe tobacco setting, like loose ribbon, when pressed. I mean, I've blended at home. When I first started with Laudisi, I was working at Cornell, and I did a lot of blending and stuff like that. You can have dramatic changes in just a week of pressure. Like,
It's amazing.
yeah, so it's just as much art as it is science.
Now, if we're talking about like events for the year, probably the, by far best event we did all year was the Rocky Patel. You know, this spring, month-long thing. Number of people ended up coming with us to a Red Sox game.
Well, we had some fun.
We had some
We had a little
fun.
bit of fun with that.
We you know,
We drank a lot
came-
of bourbon.
we came very close to getting kicked out of Fenway.
Oh, we didn't get kicked out.
That
was an escort. Then that's what they call it, an escort.
is that what did they?
No,
they
we
didn't.
didn't get
That's why you brought.
I'm joking, I'm
That's why
joking.
you brought the
They were
ex-cop
threatening.
with you, right? So
Yeah.
you guys would.
Yeah, well, you know, I lit up with Rocky.
Yes.
Solidarity.
We were in the suite at
Power
Fenway
to the
Park
people.
smoking cigars.
Yeah, we got yelled at. But,
What was that? We got an administration fee.
We got an
yeah,
administration
we
fee.
got
yeah.
an administration fee.
It was
yeah.
above my pay grade, so
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
sure who paid it.
Yep. But as far as you know, when it comes to the other side of
Right.
things, when it comes to pipes and tobaccos, the Savinelli Christmas Event, which we just had again for like the third or fourth time this past Saturday, that's the big pipe event of the year, and it was amazing. And I thought we'd kind of deconstruct that a little bit, share a little bit about what
Were you
went
here
on.
for that?
Oh yeah,
Oh, cool.
yeah, and that was great. And speaking of blending, like that was one of the events that we did.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like I curate a trunk, bring product, you know, exciting product, new product, rare product, along with some bread and butter items. And guys get excited about that. They get to pick out new pipes and things like
nice.
that, some special pieces. But the thing I love about what Dan does and the guys at Twins is they make their pipe clubs and they make their trunk shows events. Like it is an experience. And we were talking about, you know, what's the theme to do this year, what to do, and Dan came up with the idea of, hey, let's have them blend their own blends, and
Love
you
that.
can judge it. And so I said, okay, what components do you stock? And he gave me a list, and I said, you're missing one there. You don't have Dark Fire Kentucky, which he smokes straight often.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I don't have that. So we sent that. So we, after they, you know, got to look at the pipes and they had their coffee and their whiskey pairings and, you know, everything's on theme. So like the food and everything is set to match the theme. And everybody's sitting around. How many people ended up showing up? It was over 20, right?
Oh yeah, it was 25 or 30
Yeah, I mean, it was crazy.
that stayed for that.
So they all, like, after they socialized and, you know, had their catch up after about an hour or two, we had bowls along the table of individual blending components. So we had Bright Virginia, Red Virginia.
Like a chef.
Yeah.
I mean,
all right
yeah, I
there.
mean, yeah, so Jeremy, the head
Smorgasbord,
blender
yeah.
of Cornell and Deal, has a culinary
Playing
background.
the part of Julia Child is Kaz Walters.
No, not quite, but
Thin and
okay,
ginger,
maybe.
but still, it was all we could get.
Uh, you're lucky to have me, Dan.
Yes, very.
No, so like all these varietals, like, you know, Turkish tobaccos, Latakia, Perique, like all of them. And the guys who wanted to participate and to submit a blend for the competition were given those components and a dish to blend in, and they were given 30 minutes to concoct a blend to their taste. And I told them that, you know, as the judge, I'm not going to judge based on my personal taste. It's going to be on the quality of the blend. Like, how well is this constructed? Like, because everybody's taste is subjective. So how long would you say it took? We ended up having 14 entries. So I had little sample corncob pipes. Took me
That's
about
cool.
an hour maybe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And like taking breaks because I mean, you've tried cigar samples and stuff. You burn out your palate doing that. So like
Yeah.
taking it slow, like taking breaks. Um, who supplied the cookies?
Dave's
My
girlfriend
girlfriend
Teresa.
Teresa made them.
She
yeah.
made
Made
cookies.
cookies.
So first,
Where are they?
I got one
oh,
here.
just set
Oh,
those
all right.
aside. Those, yeah. So
I'll
those
take
were
one.
delicious, and I had been eating on them throughout the entire club. But like as I was eating them, it's like this is the perfect palate cleanser. So between blends, I was eating them, and then like I'd drink water and I'd rest a little bit. And the guys did really well. So we had we did a first place and a second place award, and we brought prizes for that. But we ended up, I mean, honestly, there wasn't a bad blend in the bunch, but we ended up having like 4 that it was difficult. So I ended up doing 2 honorable mentions as well. But it was a lot of fun. I don't feel like it's unfair to say it was a lot of fun for them. Based on the feedback that we got and how they interacted, and it was a lot of fun for me because, you know, we're reps. We travel around. We see a bunch of shops, and we love all of our accounts and all of the pipe clubs and meeting the people.
Right.
And that's another point that I share with you, and I'll loop around because I don't want to jump off subject, but I share with you for a minute. But there's something special about what they do here. And how they make it such an event and like so anticipated. Like it's so anticipated that not only are your pipe guys excited, your customers, but I did an event here with Jeremy Reeves in August, and I've been looking for left in August. Like
Because you knew what you were in for.
my twins visits are like the highlight of my calendar,
I love it.
and
Thank you.
yeah, I mean, thank you guys. Like, you guys are so engaged, and like, it's so great, and it's such a special spot for both cigar and pipe smokers.
I love to
alike.
hear that you do that too, because it just you're bringing me back to like the conversations I've had with Rocky and everything. Like what we do, like we do factory tours, and any like retailers come, but also like we bring consumers with us, come to our factory, come to our home, see what we do, see the process, blend your own cigar. So we do the same type of thing at our factory tours where, you know, consumers get to sit there and pick tobaccos from all over the world and make their own blend. And actually, it's interesting because we just came out with our Edge 20th anniversary cigar we talked about in the first segment.
Yep.
And you were there when Rocky was talking about that. Gary Moore is a rep that we have from Dallas, Texas. And Gary was on a factory tour, and he did a blend very early on. He did a blend, and that ended up being our Edge, our original Edge. Like, he took a part in that. It was great. Everybody smoked it. Rocky smoked it. It's great. Fine-tuned a little bit, obviously. Like, did some things to it. But that core blend that he had ended up being our release, which 20 years later, we come out with the 20th anniversary. And that blend, I mean, like we talked about, Edge is strong. Like, it's a great, you know, blend, the different cigars with the different wrappers. So I think
And
that's the beautiful about this tobacco in general, cigars, pipes, whatever.
It's a
tobacco in general.
unifier and an
Yeah.
equalizer. Like, it doesn't matter what station you are in life, or like it brings everybody together. Even I was telling him, like, you'll talk with people in lounges and stuff, religiously, politically, like whatever. You may have absolutely nothing in common with them, but you're bros because you've bonded over this
I
mutual
love that
love.
about this industry.
Exactly.
me
and
too.
and like you were talking about that, like I had a similar experience. Like that's what made me like really fall in love with Cornell and Deal. Is not only did I already smoke products that come out of the factory, but not long after working there, like I had made a personal blend, and I shared it with Jeremy, the head blender, and like I was nervous, like, is he gonna just rip this apart? And he loved it, and it ended up part of the catalog. Like that
That's
blend
cool.
is sold today.
That's cool.
And that further, like, it ties me to the brand, and it gives me, you know what I mean? And so, like, you're talking about that with the Edge, like it's that collaboration and that fraternity with people, like, really ties it together.
So, I have
But-
one question. I finish your point.
Well, one thing you were saying that you're still like learning and going around from shop to shop, and like this is work. Like I don't feel like I work at all, because
I
like
know.
I get paid
No,
to hang out with
that's a-
guys who like tobacco. So as you were saying, I
That's a
think
hard word to say because, like, oh God,
Yeah,
it's
like
not. It's like,
when you were going, I didn't want to derail you and interrupt you, so I
No,
just made a
I
mental
get it.
note.
I
Like when it
get
was
it.
my turn, like no, that's my experience too. Like I don't work. Like I get paid to do what I love.
are you married?
No.
No, so I'll just tell you, like that's the hardest part. So you asked me the transition. The hardest part of the transition is like my wife. Like before I go to work, oh, I got a stakeout. We're doing a warrant. I'm doing this investigation, this interview. Like now, it's like, yeah, I'm going to work.
I'm
Yeah.
going to get torn
I'm
up. See you later.
honestly, like probably the hardest transition from my previous life to this life is like when I go to work. Like we're having fun. We're
I'm
like
going to hang out with
and,
friends.
and it's
Yeah.
sometimes it gets a little bit hard in your personal life because it's like, you know, my wife's at home like with the kids and school and practice and competitions and all this kind of crazy stuff. It's like, oh, sorry, hon, I gotta go to work tomorrow. I gotta like, what's your work? Yeah, you're gonna go hang out, have some bourbon, smoke a cigar. That's probably the hardest part of the transition. And thank God, like my wife gets it.
Yeah.
She's cool with it, but you know, every
And
once in a
happy
while,
for
it's like,
you.
you know what? You've been gone for the last couple of weeks a lot, and your work was like doing this event and that event with Rocky and Nish, and you went to the game, you did this, you played golf. Like, it's just different, you know. But that's this industry. This industry is about people enjoying something we all love together, enjoying life, enjoying company, and tobacco.
Yeah.
I don't know. You can't beat it. I think it's awesome, and I'm so privileged to be a part of it. You know.
I feel the same. So sorry, what was your question?
Yeah, so I asked a similar question to Rocky when I was with him for the Edge release, so I'll kind of change the terms of it for you. So I know Laudisi does smoking pipes, right? You guys have like an online retailer.
Well, I mean,
type-
we're part of that's like our sister company. So
Okay.
like Smoking Pipes is a retail website, but
but it's one of the avenues you guys have for product, essentially.
yes, I mean like I rep Savinelli, Pearson, Cornell and Deal, GLPs, that sort of thing, and like I supply them just like I supply other like brick and mortar
All
retailers.
right, so then those is kind of the pinnacle of everything. You have Amazon, you have like you know, just different online retailers. You know, so what is the difference between like a B&M versus an online retailer? Like, what are the benefits of having that kind of hands-on experience at a B&M opposed to the conveniency of an online retailer? Especially when it comes to something like smoking pipes, like not the website, but actually like doing the experience of smoking a pipe.
Barring any, oh, I may get in trouble for saying this. Barring any,
We're live, by the way, just so you know. You can't edit this.
here, let me have another sip of bourbon. Barring any major industry upsets, like there was the FDA stuff and things like that. I feel the future for brick and mortars is the brightest it has been. So
Agreed.
you have the and I'm not gonna lie here. You have convenience with online shopping. I order stuff from Amazon. I order stuff from websites all the time. I buy clothes online. Like that's just what you do. But when I buy things online, it is opposed to going to a major like instead of going to, I don't know,
Nordstrom,
Nordstrom, Macy's, whatever. Like you're talking not little difference. You're going from one corporation to another. When you go to a brick and mortar, you're not going to buy a product. You're going to get an experience. Like when I go and I buy,
It's like going to your bar or your club
yes,
or your.
if I go and I like to cook and things like that. Like if I'm going to buy specific ingredients or stuff for my kitchen, or if I'm going to buy a specific like a suit, or even getting a haircut or a cigar,
Okay.
I'm not going online because with those products, convenience isn't a factor. Not saying that going to a brick and mortar isn't convenient. What I'm saying is that that's not a commodity in the sense that I'm just trying to get it. I want expertise. I want somebody that I can trust. And I'll do you even better from personal experience. Before I got into this industry, I was a graduate gemologist. I appraised jewelry for insurance, estates, things like that. And I worked for an independent jewelry store that had been in business for 70 plus years. People came to us.
K's Jewels.
No.
I had to. Sorry, that's the humor in me.
Cash begins with K.
But but that's the difference. Like they came to us because like we were their guys. We were independent experts. We were in it for the love. We weren't like a, and I'm not disparaging that. There's a place for all these different things, but like we weren't like a mall store.
Right.
Like it wasn't like if you talk to someone at our business, you were talking to someone who was in the industry and knew like intimately what they were talking about or had an education in the subject. Whereas you go to one of these like corporation where you like you're getting someone who applied for a job and had like a week's worth of training. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When you come to Twins, I mean, you're a certified retail tobacconist, certified sommelier tobacconist. You're CRT?
Same as Dan.
Yeah, okay. So you're getting education, you're getting experience, you're getting knowledge.
Well, isn't that it? I mean, it's like, listen, there's nothing against. Like, I buy stuff online too, and I always have. But there's nothing better than going into a brick and mortar and asking and getting that personal, like, hey, I like this. This is the flavor I like. This is what do you have that meets what I need?
It's that
and
personal touch.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's all part of the experience.
Yeah.
You know.
I think Kaz hit it on the head when he
So
said it's the
and
experience, yeah.
I was talking to the director of my company who she's not a pipe smoker. She's not into tobacco. She relies on us for the product, but it's like her strength is leading the division, like having the best interests of her people and the products and like
Consumers.
easily the best boss I've ever had in my life. And one thing that she said, like I was trying to articulate this in a meeting with the reps, and she articulated it very well. It's like, you know, you can DoorDash anything. Your favorite food from your favorite restaurant. And you can do that, and there's nothing wrong with that. You're getting the same product. But sometimes you want the experience of eating in that nice restaurant.
What about if you go to your favorite restaurant and they're like the waiter comes over and it's like, oh, the chef made a really nice
You can't get
dish.
that
He's
through an
got
app.
like truffle oil on it, and this like it's like,
And she's like,
oh,
it's
that's
this-
gonna fit your profile. You like that? I know, Mr. LaRiviere, you like this, but you should try this dish
Yeah.
that the chef just
You're
did.
not
Like,
going
yeah.
to a brick and mortar for a commodity.
Right.
You're going for a complete package. And I think that, to answer your question, I went the long way around it. I think that is the difference, and that is why brick and mortar businesses, from what I'm seeing, like new accounts opening up and stuff, they're not going anywhere. And honestly, to some extent, with the and I'm not saying this in any way as a negative or in a denigrating way, but with the millennial and Gen Z like culture of, you know, some people want to say hipster or whatever, but no, they want that attention to detail. They want that something special.
You want to
Brick-
feel a part of it.
From what I see, brick and mortars, I see no reason to say, as long as they're getting that service, they're the future. Like that's how it's going.
Right.
And you know, not saying that, you know, online retail is here to stay. It's not going anywhere. Don't misunderstand
Well, it's important in its own way too.
Yeah, because
right?
there are many guys who don't live within driving distance of a decent brick and mortar like that. There is a need
I get
for
the
them.
direct
There is a
messages
need
on
for it,
Instagram,
that's right.
and I have like followers that'll message me and say, "Oh, the Edge 20th came out, the DBS came out. Can I get it?" Like, they're in the middle, like in the Midwest. Like there's nowhere for them to go.
Yep.
So yeah, hey, by the way, you can get it here. We have it here, but
They're important. I'm not. I'm not. You know,
they
disparaging my
complement each
sister
other
company.
perfect. They
Yeah.
complement each other perfect.
There's a need for both, and neither can exist without the other in today's world.
right.
Yeah.
I guess
But
driving,
don't not go to your local brick and mortar and get a relationship with them and ask them about new things coming out
Yeah.
and tell them what you like and what you don't like and let them guide you, you know.
And not just with cigars and pipe tobacco. Support small business. Like
Right.
that's important.
So I think one of the points I'm trying to drive to, just based on the conversation of Rocky, is again like Rocky, you know, in the late '90s was basically living in his car, going to different B&Ms and promoting his brand, building his name. and
He was selling
becoming-
boxes out of his trunk to pay for the gas to get to the next place he was going.
Yeah. So
Fact.
and then I asked Rocky a question. Again, it was late at night, and you know,
Yeah, you know.
you know, and he, you know, I would think relied heavily on B&Ms because they're the ones that kind of took him in. They push his product to educate the consumer. So the way that I look at the adversity that Rocky went through with that is kind of like pipe smokers, in the sense of like it's a really minute percentage of premium tobacco smokers, and to me, like, if you go, and I'm not discrediting wholesalers online at all. Again, like, there's a place for it in the industry, and nothing against it. But what I look at when it comes to Rocky promoting a new brand or pipe smoking is, like, if you, like, I guess, making new smokers, letting people into that experience, and so when it comes to pipe smoking, if I'm a new pipe smoker and I want to try it, if I buy everything I want online, I'm going to have that one experience where I can't light the thing properly, I can't pack it properly, I just throw it out, and again, to Rocky's point, his experience, like, he was visiting and making these personal connections with these B&Ms, and then, he left that lasting impression on them, and then they took Rocky in, and they were, selling his product to where, in your case, you have like a place like Twins, and I'm sure there's many other places like us that kind of, do what we do, but, when you leave here, it's not that, Kaz isn't here today, come back in 6 months and he'll be here to teach you the pipe. Like, we take that responsibility, and Dan's done an excellent job building new pipe smokers through these pipe clubs and through his, daily interactions, where he takes kind of the principles that you leave behind, and then he then furthers those with those, like, point of contact consumers, where, to me, like, a wholesaler doesn't have the ability to do that. I mean, I know there's some wholesalers that have that little text chain that pops up on the corner of your
Different,
computer,
though.
and
It's
they're
different.
Yeah. So,
You know?
I mean, smoking pipes is a really well executed like retail site.
Yeah.
But that being said, it's limited by the medium of the internet. I would argue that I wouldn't argue. I think it's pretty verifiable. Pipe smoking has been going through a renaissance for probably the last
5-6 years.
10 to 12 years.
Wow.
And I came in on the early wave of that unintentionally. Like, I didn't know another pipe smoker. I just fell into it, and I fell in love with it.
Well, think about what we do. I mean,
First thing I ever
what's your
smoked in my
job?
life was a pipe.
You go around, you visit accounts, and I'm like, yeah, it's with the retails, like people like Dan and Kurt and Pat and Dave, everybody, we build those relationships. But I think, like, the richness of what we do is sitting down in the lounge at the bar or whatever, and we're talking to consumers, and we're spreading the word about what we do as a company, as an industry, and those are the relationships I think I want. That if I step out of my role as a rep that I'm doing my territory, if I step out of that, when I'm in the lounge, like, I want to meet the guy that's connected to the guy. I want to hear the stories about how you make your cigars and what you put into them and all that stuff, like, that we already talked about. Like, that you can't substitute that. You
No,
can't click
and
a button and get that. You need, like,
What's
that's
really
great, but
special is the fans of our products in this industry are really privileged in the sense that they can do that. Like, what other hobby do they get to meet either the like Rocky Patel or
Right.
Jeremy Reeves, who was here in August? Like, how many people are just like really into a hobby or an interest that they get to meet the leaders of it, or the creators of the product that they desire? Like, it's
and I even think us, because like listen, we're nobody when it comes to the big picture. It
yeah.
probably sounds bad, but we're just but we're here representing, and we're spreading the word, and
okay, Cass.
we're making the connections with those consumers that are in the lounge, and we're smoking our pipe, and we're talking about the tobacco, we're smoking a cigar, we're talking about tobacco and the blend and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know, I don't think there's any substitution for that.
there isn't. There really isn't.
No.
That's what builds this industry. And like I mentioned earlier, like, you drop anywhere in the world into a cigar lounge, smoking pipes, smoking cigars, you're with friends. You're a part of that. You're
There's
that.
a culture built around.
Yeah, you're a part of that
Yeah.
group. It's just like the law enforcement, the camaraderie. You're a part of that, and
And
you
it's
talk
not
about the different
exclusive
things.
because, like I said, you can basically not have anything else in common, but that is a unifier and an equalizer. Like,
Yep.
and it's amazing because without breaking any confidentiality with accounts or anything, like, I'm in this lounge. I haven't met a single person that I haven't just loved. Like, I love it here, but I've been in accounts in like Manhattan off of Wall Street, and like, there's a guy sitting across from me in that lounge who makes more than my annual salary, more than my house is worth on
A
his
day.
wrist.
Yeah,
And outside of, and we had a great conversation. Like, I made a friend, and like for hours we talked. We had drinks at the bar after. Like, it was great. But if it wasn't for our love of cigars and pipe tobacco, we would have had nothing to talk
Right.
about. We lived in different universes,
Mm-hmm.
but that brought us together, and that's what I love about this,
Me
is
too.
that it brings people together who otherwise just wouldn't have had an opportunity to talk.
It's not even that, but like when like you have an event in this industry, like when you have a principal person like Rocky Patel going to an event, like you can like sit with them and have a drink with them. You know, like so many other industries where you have like a principal person, it's like you have to get like on a waiting list and you have to go wait in a line to see them. But it's like when you like in this industry, when someone's there, like they're here to talk to the consumer. Like you don't have to go over a bridge to see them. It's like they're there, you know, and you can sit, have a cigar with them, talk to them, and like I haven't seen any other industry where you can have that really
Mr.
personal.
Anheuser-Busch isn't coming in here and drinking a Budweiser with us,
No.
right? You know?
Yeah, you know, and it's like I think that's one of the unique things. And again, like kind of echoing my point, like the B&M is like you can have those experiences. You know, like again, like Twins, we have Rocky once a year come here, and it's like I know with my experience with the Rocky event, you know, we had the White Label, the 60, and the Disciple come out, and it was really just interesting to see that you had people walking in the humidor that don't typically smoke Rockies, and then since we have that display up, you know, Rocky Patel was there, Mike was there, you know, they wanted to try, and then ever since that point, you know, these customers come in and they're Rocky guys now, you know, and it's because, you know, people really, at least what I think, people really appreciate seeing somebody from their company come in and have that personal experience and talk to them, you know,
And
like
tell them why their product is special and how it's different. Like, not, I mean, taste vary. Like, you may prefer this brand or this brand or this brand, but finding out why you like the brand you like, like what makes that unique.
Well, feeling a part of the family too. I mean, I mean, Rocky back in the day, like you said, Dan, selling cigars out of the trunk of his car. You said it too, like traveling around, and he did that. He still travels 300 plus days a year, and I think to get the chance to be around him, and you know, he's the face of the company. He's a blender. He's everything that we talked about. You feel like you're a part of the family when you meet him, you know.
And it's mutual. Like, the guys who meet him probably feel just as lucky as Rocky does to meet
Right.
them.
That's the
because
way he is.
They love
Yes.
what he makes.
and it's even
And
like
that's how Jeremy is.
Yeah,
Like,
and that's what I was gonna say is like Jeremy, the first time he was in New England was here, you know, over the summer in August, and you know, like again, I've never met Jeremy Reeves before, but like he is such a genuine guy, you
down
know,
to earth. Yeah.
and he has like this really successful company. He's a completely like mad scientist blender, and he's just another guy, you know, like you can sit with him and you would never know that he's Jeremy Reeves behind Cornell and Deal.
I mean, think about the event we had this past summer. So we gave away some things. We went to the Red Sox game, but you know, part of that was we also took a couple of consumers down to Naples. We went to Bern. We went to our warehouse. We did, and we ended up at Rocky. Like how many other industries can you have a consumer who was here? He's a Twins guy. He's here smoking cigars, smoking pipes, whatever, enjoying what we enjoy, and then snap forward a month later, he's at Rocky's house till 3 a.m. smoking blends that nobody else smoked, having drinks out on his boat. Like, I just love that about
very
this
unique,
industry.
yeah.
And that's
you
why
know?
it's like the true equalizer, because if you didn't know who Rocky Patel was, you would never tell he owns the brand you're smoking. Like
Right.
Jeremy Reeves, like guy walks in,
Same thing, right?
you know, denim on denim, you know, he's just another guy. And you sit with him and you're smoking, you know, a pipe, and you would never know that he's the mastermind behind the blend you're smoking,
Yeah.
because no one holds themselves higher than anyone else in this
Right.
industry.
We had that trip, and I'll tell you right now, Rocky several times asked me, "Did those guys have fun? Did they enjoy themselves?" And like he's like concerned about these consumers from Twins that came to his house, his office. You know, were on his boat. He's like, "Did they have a good time? Did they enjoy themselves?" They're like, where do you get that in any other
You
industry?
don't.
You
And so
don't,
that was the
you
thing.
know?
Like, so we raffled off those signed tins of Jeremy's. And I'll never forget, it was probably about a year, maybe 2 years ago. COVID destroys the memory
Yes.
as far as like, when did this happen? But like the first time like Jeremy had somebody ask him to sign a tin of tobacco, like he almost didn't want to do it because he didn't. It's like, why would you want me to sign your? Well, you
Right.
blended it. And like it's still to this day, it's like, hey, can you sign this? This is gonna be the raffle item, the prize at the Twins event. And he goes, yeah, I'll sign it. Like,
It's kind of weird, but I'll sign it.
but he's like, who am I? Like, and so
Yeah.
that sort of humble, like, yeah, I mean, if it's what they want, sure. Like,
Yeah.
but there's no like ego, like there's no, you know what I mean? And you don't see that anywhere else.
He's too busy for ego.
So what's our final thoughts here on the GLP's Bankside?
I would say it's very enjoyable.
You've
Pleasant.
been
It's
enjoying it
pleasant.
the whole time. You've been
pleasant.
sipping on that like it's a fine bourbon.
Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
All three of them.
Everything's probably nice to you now.
I can't wait for my tins to come to my house so I can enjoy this later on.
Yep. Yep. Pat finished his. He's gone back to the cigar.
I'm close.
Yep. Yeah, I'm just about done with mine. Just a great tobacco. I haven't. GLP's is just one of the. Greg Pease is one of these dudes who I don't think he can do anything wrong. Every tobacco is. You may not. It may not be your preferred thing, but you can. You know it's really good.
It's well
You know,
constructed.
I have my favorites in his, and he has got what 40 something blends out there, maybe more than that.
more than that.
You
more
know,
than
and
that.
it's
But
ridiculous.
no two are alike.
Yeah, no two are alike, and you know, like Cumberland, everybody knows is one of my favorites. That was one of his first two. I have a tin on me now. I've had a tin on me for the last 20 something years. It's just one of those tobaccos that I just really keep coming back to.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm a Kentucky smoker too.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So you know what I'm talking about. So we've gone way over.
This has been great. This,
But this
a little bit.
was great. Great
thank
conversation.
you to your
I didn't
listeners for putting up with my Mike LaRiviere 101 pipe
Putting a Mike
questions.
and Kaz show.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'm a rambler, so
I'm just hoping that some
apologies.
cigar people that were on this now maybe open up their minds to
Yes.
enjoying a pipe and a pipe tobacco. It's
No, it's just
beautiful.
really
Our
good.
stream of consciousness,
Yeah.
like just coming out.
I'm back to the Friday night fights with my grandfather and the smells and great.
Now, next week, it's basically our Christmas episode. It's going to be the 20th.
Ho,
and
ho,
we're
ho.
going to have another guest with us next week, Lee Graves, who's the newest Christoph rep for us.
Good guy.
And yes, he is a very good guy. I like him a lot. And we're going to be smoking something very special. Christoph blended a cigar for Twins' 25th anniversary.
Wow.
And it is going to be here with him, and we're going to smoke that on the
Nice.
show for our Christmas.
What's the date of that?
That is the 20th.
Nice.
Are you
So
going to be in Red Santa? I mean, Dan?
I'm
But
ho ho ho.
That's the last day of my final, so I'll probably be
He'll
drunk
be-
for that episode.
Yeah,
he'll be Krampus.
yeah. So over the weekend, you know, I right after the pipe show, I was up here and helping out at the bar and clearing some ashtrays and bringing, and there was a bunch of guys sitting right where we're doing the podcast, and I had worn a red button shirt and a bow tie, and wearing my green hat here, and I looked like Santa Claus. I looked like Father Christmas, and one of them said, "Hey, thanks, Santa," and could I have some water? And I brought him his water back, and I said, "Ho ho ho, there you go," just like that. You know, just trying to be, and for whatever reason, probably because they were well lubricated, they thought that was the most hilarious thing, and they actually gave me a $20 tip for the water
No way.
because of how I took it and owned it. And,
Yeah, you got
know,
money.
Well, I
there you
mean, with
go.
inflation, reindeer feed can't be cheap.
No. All right, so be with us next week,
Wait,
8 o'clock.
Dan,
What?
Sean wants us to pick the raffle winner before we go off.
Oh, we're doing a raffle?
Yeah, we're raffling a Rocky Ashtray with the promo we did tonight for the
Nice.
DBS.
Oh, okay. So what's the
Who's got the tickets?
He's Sean's getting them right
oh,
now.
Sean's
Wait,
getting
is
the
somebody
tickets
here?
now?
Is somebody here in the shop's gonna get it?
Yep.
So why don't we give them something else?
What do you think?
I don't know. Why don't we give him a DBS since we did a DBS today?
Why don't we give him a pipe?
Yeah. So whoever wins this raffle is going to get a DBS
I think a
too.
60 gauge would fit into a pipe
Yeah.
chamber. Like, they
Smoke
can
it like
smoke it out of the
like
pipe.
that.
You
Like
thought
that.
you
Well, I
were
wanna
going to get a
know, Mike,
Rocky,
since
but you're
you've had
getting a pipe,
other
sucker.
DBSs,
Oh,
is-
yeah.
Is the 60 gauge?
I'm not a 60 guy like you. I enjoyed it fully. Very nice.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be full transparency. I haven't had a 60 yet. This is my first 62.
Yeah.
I've been smoking Robusto Toro. I haven't had a 60 yet.
Would you put the 60 above the Robusto Toro?
I like the 60. I think that's where I would go. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that I was
Yeah.
the same way. I usually stay in the high 40s as a ring gauge,
Right? Yeah.
and
I'm surprised I
was-
was even saying it.
yeah,
But yes, I'm a
It was really
Lancero
good.
guy.
I need to talk to Rocky about
All
this.
right.
Yeah,
Dave,
yeah.
hold the box high for Mike and let him pick that.
All right. Oh, by the way, so whoever wins this gets this too. What am I doing? Picking a winner?
Picking one. Just
All
one.
right. It's gonna be Michael Hunt. Is that okay on a podcast? No, it's not okay. It's not him. No, it's Igor, which is equally as interesting.
There he is. Right
Igor,
there.
Igor, are you Igor? Igor, congratulations, buddy. You win.
Give him the cigar, too.
Put that on my tab. Congrats, man.
Excellent. Rocky Patel ashtray and a
A DBS
20
60.
DBS 60. That's a $23 cigar.
Yes.
Right there. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna get in trouble for that.
No, you won't.
No.
Yeah. If Rocky gives you anything, you come to me and I'll set him straight.
All right.
But be
Perfect.
with us here next week at 8 o'clock. We're going to have our Twins 20th anniversary cigar from Christoph with Lee Graves. It's going to be awesome. Thanks for being with us. Thanks
Thank
for
you.
being on the show, Mike.
Thanks for
Kaz,
having me.
Thanks for
Kaz.
hanging
Thanks, everybody.
around.
Thank you, Mike.
Kaz is up here from North Carolina.
Kaz, you're the man.
See you
South
in the
Carolina.
yeah.
Oh, my gosh.
I'm that far away.
Oh.
SC from the house.
All right. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.
Merry Christmas.